Monster Hunter World. Most of the time in the contemporary gaming industry, there are oversights or flaws and reasons to stay true to an air of aggressive skepticism, but sometimes games come along that make us all remember why we watch for new releases, why we keep track of upcoming titles, and hope for quality sequels to be developed. Monster Hunter World is such a game. There are a few reasons why I've chosen to revisit the game now. I played it extensively on release, created guide material, educational content, and I live streamed it a decent amount. I did not, however, ever do a fully fleshed out crafted review because, well, I don't really have a good reason. I don't know why. That's just not what I focused on back then. But now, with the recent channel growth and exploration into what I enjoy most as a creator, and additionally the appearance of Monster Hunter World for a significant discount on one of our sponsor websites, it felt like the perfect time to revisit the title and do my full actual review. Monster Hunter is an established franchise with a well-defined, iconic, and polished format. Hunting down giant predatory beasts, harvesting their claws, teeth, fur, and more to craft ever-increasingly powerful gear and unlock bigger, tougher, and more rewarding fights is a fundamentally successful progression model. The danger in this format comes from a properly rewarding curve, with most encounters instanced into smaller zone maps and an emphasis on what exactly you gather after each epic takedown. There needs to be a well-crafted curve of rewards, so that you are constantly progressing in a fulfilling way. Monster Hunter World fulfills that goal to the letter, and that, I believe, is one of its three most essential pillars of success. Whether you have 1 hour or 10, you will be able to find an activity that fits both time frame and reward goals. The gear upgrade paths are lengthy, but usually, though there can be exceptions, not overly grindy. They progress at a good clip, and each fight chips away at the essential materials needed to get that next exciting, potential experience-altering upgrade that builds ever higher on top of your previous work. All too often, games struggle with this very badly, to the point where players are intensely aware of grinding walls and soft barriers in the game. And while certain items, gear, and upgrades obviously are more desirable, requiring more materials, rare ingredients, and sought-after gems, Monster Hunter World does an excellent job of making a player feel motivated to proceed, find those materials, and accomplish goals, rather than discouraging progression through bad balancing. It feels like no matter how rare an item is, mysterious, or difficult to acquire the different components are, all that you need is just a couple of monsters away, and that sort of continuous enjoyment is refreshing in today's industry. The second pillar of success, and arguably the most important for a lot of players, is actual skill-based combat. The game has extensive crafting and power progression through gear and items, yes, but the biggest factor by far is player skill with individual weapon type. There is a healthy selection of weapons, each fundamentally changing the entire combat system for a user. When first adopting, it may seem difficult, one-dimensional, or clunky, but that is purely surface level. With even a moderate amount of exploration, it can be discovered that every single weapon has unique combos, timing benefits, strengths, and areas of intense power or reward, which is nearly unrivaled in the modern gaming industry as a whole. After spending hundreds of hours truly mastering a complex, combo-based weapon, such as the Insect Glaive, for example, one can simply switch to dual daggers, and the entire core gameplay experience changes. Because of this emphasis on individual player skill being a priority for monster difficulty, the game's longevity again increases, as itemization no longer becomes the end-all be-all for players to reach max potential power. Whereas a certain combination of wearable gear in other games would constitute total annihilation or success, Monster Hunter is layered deeply beyond that. Weapon, gear, combo knowledge, positioning, timing, and more are all just as important, and it is unlikely that any player will ever truly be as good as they possibly could be in every single category with every single weapon. That seems like an overly optimistic position, I get it, to assume that players would have any interest at all in going through each and every weapon, when most users honestly get bored rather quickly and experience things once and then they're done. But with how superbly unique the weapon types are, and the artfully constructed progression through various monsters up to elder dragons and massive colossus type behemoths, switching weapons changes so much about the combat, it is not unexpected for players to spend a significant amount of time testing each archetype. All of this flexibility and potential also comes in parallel to cooperative group play, where party members can buff one another and role responsibilities become flexible and ever more important based on the surrounding players and their own specializations. Monster Hunter World is not at its core an overtly social game, but the cooperative elements are important, valuable, and encourage learning, planning, and synergy in a way many other titles fail to do. The third and perhaps most easily appreciated pillar of success is pricing and content scope. This has become an increasingly rare phenomenon. The finished game, a nearly extinct species, hard to catch a glimpse of, and they can be observed from afar pre-release, but more often when games finally launch, they are a ghost of what they should be with parceled out content, patches that remedy glaring holes in their launch day material, DLC to add in like stripped out features for an additional $10, $20, sometimes even $40. But Monster Hunter World is a shining example of everything gamers want and expect in a fully finished launch title. The game was complete since day one. That should not necessarily be so praiseworthy and rare, but unfortunately we are in an industry where it is. The level of polish was worth the price tag. The scope of content was immense, and the most important part was free extended DLC content drops that were legitimately free and not some dodgy ploy to garner goodwill after a little too much flirtation with consumer unfriendly practices. Monster Hunter World is a game that players can really feel confident in purchasing. Now, that's not to say that every single gamer will enjoy it. There is a tremendous amount of subjectivity involved, but if there is even a remote possibility that you like skill-based, combo-oriented combat, intricate crafting, large monster fights, and anything else that I've discussed during the 3 pillars of success, there is a high likelihood that Monster Hunter World might be a solid purchase for your library. Revisiting this game now for quite a few reasons is a bit of a wake-up call. I've been bombarded with disappointments lately. Games like Fallout 76, the recently launched Atlas, the premiere of Red Dead 2's online component. It's easy to forget what a wholesome, well-crafted game even looks like, especially one that is finished at launch and void of the plethora of glitches which we've come to expect as being normative and an addition to any launch day game. It's not a dead practice completely, making a fully polished game that is. The Red Dead 2 single player comes to mind as a fully finished, well-crafted example, but very rarely do cooperative multiplayer games get it right from the jump. And not only that, since Monster Hunter World is no longer in its infancy, there is even more polish and value added since initial drop. Now, this is only a very small window and it won't apply to many who watch the video, but if you are seeing this on the day of the upload, Monster Hunter World is on sale at chrono.gg, which is one of our channel sponsors, for over 40% off. The background clip does show Frostpunk, which is a different game. That's just because it was gathered a while ago, but if you follow the link in the description down below and bookmark it if you'd like to, you can go to Chrono, which has a different, highly discounted game every day, and they gave me an opportunity to pick which games I want to specifically cover. To be very clear, I like Monster Hunter World a lot, and I like money a lot. So I can promote Monster Hunter World, which I like, and if any of you out there buy it, then I get money, which I like, so it's a double whammy. Also, Chrono does a really good job cycling through quality games, so it felt like a good fit for the channel and a beneficial sponsorship to accept that benefits both myself and viewers. Monster Hunter World, to me, is a game that blends together a bunch of things that I hope for in a game on paper because they have longevity, a rewarding grinding curve, and make for interesting systems overall. And it produces them, in actuality, realizing the potential of those concepts and making them into a reality. It's not for absolutely everyone, but it's worth checking out if you have any shred of interest. As I stated earlier in the video, it's a well-established franchise, but not quite ever before like this. Monster Hunter World expands on the existing audience for the Monster Hunter games by a massive margin because it successfully preserves and maintains the original concepts that made it popular, while opening the door for mainstream Western gamers at large to understand, enjoy, and benefit from their own method of storytelling. The tables turn fast, trends slide into unfriendly waters quicker than we would like to accept or believe, but Monster Hunter World didn't get the memo. They followed an old, seemingly outdated formula of actually making a game the community loves because it is polished and complete. As a result, the game is maintaining a large, healthy player base across all platforms, and unlike other franchises in recent memory getting iced because of a release, a la Mass Effect Andromeda, Monster Hunter World specifically is now more popular than ever and positioned perfectly to continue capitalizing on consumer interests. Whether you are completely casual or dedicated and hardcore, Monster Hunter World has the systems in place to maintain player enjoyment. That's rare, a game that simultaneously caters to both sides of the time commitment spectrum, without sacrificing balancing or leaving one side with detrimental remnant systems catered to the other demographic. That's an admirable and noteworthy accomplishment, and as with many previously mentioned strengths, it bolsters the appeal of the game for a larger audience. In the end, revisiting Monster Hunter World has been fantastic, truly. It's a game I can pick back up whenever and enjoy right from the get-go, without the oppressive need to maintain gear through different buff and nerf cycles, like with looter shooters for example, or without the PvP drain of having to understand different meta shifts and patch cycles, with the old-fashioned kind of fun, the playing games just because they are great kind of session, and that is really and truly praiseworthy. Again, if you want to grab Monster Hunter World for 40% off and also, with that, give me money to go buy myself some Slim Jims and beer, check out the Chrono link down below. But if you are watching this after the fact, it's still worthwhile to investigate the game. Check out the other links down below if you want to get involved with Upper Echelon. We have a Facebook community, Discord server, gaming forums, and some more stuff soon. As always, thank you for watching, and have a nice night.